Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to be here at Creando Enlaces, presenting alongside Leslie McNabb. Welcome to our presentation, REFORMA San Diego LIBROS, Connecting Through Compassion and Community. My name is Itza Villaboy, and I am the Classified Development Coordinator at San Diego City College. I use the pronouns she, her, ella. During the spring 2020 semester, I was recruited to participate in a kind of cohort think tank of sorts at San Diego City College. I'm sorry, can we take it back to slide one? Sorry, thank you. I'm also the outgoing chair of REFORMA San Diego LIBROS. After almost 2 years of daunting hardship in our communities, some of us have lost family and friends, experienced a variety of intensities, and or find ourselves in unstable situations. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge this and the efforts made on the behalf of so many to steer difficult situations back around. Slide 2, please. LIBROS is the San Diego and Imperial County chapter of REFORMA National and is dedicated to the improvement of all library and information services to the growing number of Chicano, Latinos, and Spanish-speaking people in San Diego and Imperial County. In recent years, we have dedicated our services to the borderlands in part to reflect to reflect the backgrounds of the various board members that have participated over the years. And this region, this culture that connects San Diego and Tijuana specifically. We emphasize binational transborder librarianship practices, including developing a scope of services, resources, and means of organizational support that often doubles as a framework from which to imagine future library practices and procedures. But more on this later. On this slide, along with our contact information, you see examples of recent collaborations. There are many fantastic professional organizations currently in existence, and we happen to belong to one of them, perhaps several, that focus on more straightforward approaches toward professional development. But LIBROS is very much a laboratory of exploration, discussion, and experimentation. The organization emphasizes the grassroots community engagement practices it was founded on by several members of the Chicano Park Steering Committee, and by developing relationships with members of the community while identifying needs and their contours, partnering with individuals and organizations, engaging in creative collaborations to highlight issues, concerns, and to create connections to our school, community, public, and academic libraries. Part of the creative process is to have a bit of fun and joy too. Members of LIBROS are encouraged to attend meetings and propose programs, activities, and voice concerns. In a few moments, I'll share programs proposed by other members of LIBROS. For now, you see 3 images, a corazón, a tote bag, and a bookmark. The corazón, or heartbreak, was a multimedia t-shirt designed by Cognate Collective. The front image of this t-shirt depicts a heart with a zigzag through it. It is a drawing, the exact trace of the US-Mexico border at the San Isidro-Tijuana border crossing, and the electrical signal of a heart on an electrocardiogram. The back image of the t-shirt has a song list of oldies that were very popular in the 1960s that evoke loss, separation, and heartbreak. You can access this song list on a SoundCloud file. The image on the tote bag was designed by artist Omar Pimienta. It depicts imagined California, a place where the US-Mexico border does not exist. Both Alta y Baja California exist as one landmass. Both artists are from Tijuana, but they are also educators and instructors in San Diego. The projects were sparked by the need to develop passive funding streams to raise monies for the annual LIBROS Library Science Scholarship to benefit local MLIS students and library technical staff. We have, the most recent update is that we have sold out of the t-shirts and the bags. The bookmark that you see on this slide was inspired by a poem written by Isabel Sanchez and Jacqueline Ayala, founding members of REFORMA San Diego LIBROS. It was submitted to the 2019-2020 LIBROS yearbook zine, currently available as a digital book on the LIBROS website. We encourage you to visit and look at this zine. It is at sandiegolibros.org. The bookmark was developed to celebrate and commemorate the grand opening of the Bibliotequita Colibrí at Centro Cultural de la Raza in October 2021. We handed them out for free. Slide 3, please. If we could revisit for a moment the time just before the pandemic to stay long enough to recall some of the programs and activities that had their start then, and I promise we'll find our way back to the present. Inspired by an art exhibit and series of programs called Librarians and held at the San Diego County Library Spring Valley branch, Missy Solis, former LIBROS chair and librarian with the San Diego County Library System, encouraged LIBROS to apply for the Book to Action grant sponsored by, at the time, by California Center for the Book, California Library Association, and the California State Library. The program was designed to encourage civic engagement and conversation through the framework of a book club. The Omar Pimienta's album of Fences was selected, and through a partnership with the San Diego Public Library, San Isidro branch, we distributed approximately 200 free copies of this book. We conducted an author engagement event where over 50 people attended, and we sponsored art and cleanup events in the South Bay, specifically at Robert Egger Senior South Bay Recreation Center. And we were just on the cusp of creating a major, a significant cleanup effort in the Tijuana Estuary Valley, in partnership with the city of San Diego and Leslie McNabb. But the pandemic cut us short. Thank you to the support of REFORMA National, LIBROS was able to partner with the San Diego Public Library Logan Heights branch to receive $500 worth of books on social justice topics, conduct a story time and craft series, which ultimately culminated in an art show for the community. Further Noche de Cuentos collaborations included supporting the San Diego LGBTQ Latinx Coalition to host a night of queer BIPOC stories, emceed by Raquelita and Barbecue, with special guests Brani Barragan and Nick Franco. Brani Barragan just graduated from UC Berkeley and is a budding photojournalist in Tijuana, Baja California. Another project was a partnership with San Diego Central Library, where we brought the East Village arts community into focus by sponsoring free copies of Maybe Something Beautiful, How Art Transformed a Neighborhood, illustrated by local artist Rafael Lopez. He gave us a tour and the history of the Urban Art Trail and conducted an online art activity for youth. Most recently, the Bibliotequita Colibrí received the Noche de Cuentos grant to support a reading activity, music and dance, chocolate con pan, and an art activity at Centro. The evening was a success with over 100 participants. Abuelitos, parents, friends, and children came together at Centro. Responding to the pandemic has been no easy task. The digital divide is a very real challenge to our communities. Founded and housed at the University of San Diego, the Turning Wheel Project, a mobile classroom conceived by Alberto Pulido, chair of the Ethnic Studies Department and one of our long-term partners. Working together with the San Diego Public Library, LIBROS, and other organizations, Turning Wheel brought Wi-Fi to Chicano Park to counteract the very real consequences when a community lacks access to Wi-Fi. And so they were able to they were able to come together at the park and access the signal and, you know, literally do their homework in the car. We did a couple of sessions of this, and at the same time, we also distributed information about COVID, safe practices, and registered people for an appointment to get vaccines. We offered sack lunches, we distributed books, we developed an ad hoc seed library, and honestly, we just came together to have a series of pep talks with the community. Like there are a lot of people that, you know, we all missed each other, but we didn't know how to get together safely. So we thought it best to get together at the park. Let's see, slide 4, please. Programs and partnerships that were incubated just before the pandemic and managed to hatch during some of the really dark days testify to the willingness of our partners on both sides of the border to continuously find ways to support our communities. Jugamos a Leer is a literacy and educational enrichment program conducted by Nelly Cantú, the former president of ABIBAC, Asociación de Bibliotecarios de Baja California, and an active participant in the One Book program. We sourced Spanish, French, and Creole books for several Siembra de Libros events in Tijuana, where she would leave small care packs on the street, which included book, hand sanitizer, masks, and information. There were more directed efforts to source books for both the established migrant shelters as well as the improvised ones. For example, like the one at El Chaparral or Pedwest, the crossing closest to the outlet malls in San Isidro. We conducted story times for youth and witnessed very difficult to describe, but, you know, discernibly inhumane conditions. And we just felt that partnering with Nelly was a way to get free books to a lot of the children and to a lot of the families that were currently seeking asylum in Tijuana. To return briefly to the Bibliotequita Colibrí, an idea sourced from the days of Book to Action to restore the youth library at Centro Cultural de la Raza, and under the leadership of Argelia Ramirez, LIBROS member and board member of Centro, we developed a virtual storytime reading series showcasing books by a variety of Chicano, Indigenous, and Latino authors, and read by many members of the community in order to center the voices that we wanted to create a library around. We are currently building another library at Centro to accompany we affectionately call it the BC, and it's called the Seed Library. It will be a place where youth can source free seeds and read books about gardening, plants, insects, and developing sustainable agricultural practices for our changing environment. And just down the street from Centro on Park Boulevard, we find San Diego City College, where we have struck up a partnership with the San Diego City College Library Learning Resource Center and the Dreamer Resource Center to build a Chicano Studies zine library, a free textbook library, 2 more youth libraries, and we're currently updating our book holdings to better reflect our student populations and community interests. Omar Pimienta was invited to participate in a virtual author event that was meant to inaugurate the opening of the free textbook library at the Dreamer Resource Center. The author event highlighted the transborder conditions of the author's lived, familial, educational, social, and career circumstances, which includes the daily negotiation of the US-Mexico border. Omar was also a former San Diego City College student majoring in Chicano Studies, and he eventually he completed his PhD at UC San Diego. Slide 6, please. So we wanted to quickly run through REFORMA's Children in Crisis project because we work so closely with them. This is a presentation by Patrick Sullivan, but I asked him for permission to just present briefly on it because we just want to make sure that everyone knows about it because it's such a wonderful program. So yes, Children in Crisis project is co-chaired by Patrick Sullivan. I'm admin on the project, and I work closely with Patrick to source books, either by requesting donations, running book drives, or sending funds directly to where they might be needed. And Libros in general just works closely with children in crisis. So real briefly, the REFORMA Children in Crisis project has been addressing the needs of asylum-seeking children arriving at our borders since 2014, when Oralia Garza de Cortez and Lucia Gonzalez founded the group. Over these years, there has been an ebb and flow of activity as the arrival of children has fluctuated and as the US national policy has changed. Today, we find ourselves in a very challenging situation as we attempt to send books to both sides of the border for the rapidly rising number of arriving children and families. Over the years, we have worked with traditional shelters here in the US, like those of Southwest Key, and with grassroots organizations like Team Brownsville on the Brownsville-Matamoros border, Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities, and many others. Next slide. And so, as I just mentioned, like this organization was started in 2014. There are a lot of acronyms that need to be deciphered from time to time, but you know, Patrick has been just really instrumental in spearheading this project. Next, please. Next slide. So we have worked with many individuals through ALA, even the California Border Patrol. Sylvia Cisneros has flown to McAllen, Texas to deliver books. And it's been very important that we nurture relationships no matter how far. Next slide. So we work closely with IBI, again, various members that from in different cities like Brownsville, McAllen. There have been opportunities to visit these sites to assess what's needed. We constantly try to find new means to reinvigorate our outreach efforts and make additional connections. Next slide. We approach this through a multifaceted approach by there's constant publicity and outreach through the various social medias. It's tough work, and we really do our best to support each other so that we can support children that are constantly arriving at the border. Next slide. We have strong vendor, author, distributor support systems. We work closely with First Book, Urban Librarians Unite. Many authors and organizations donate books, including other publishing organizations. And most of these books are stored at Patrick's converted garage warehouse or here at my house. Next slide. We work closely with the shelters. Sometimes it can be quite challenging to get into the shelters, but we have found ways based on these really great relationships. Next slide. And so this is a brief testimonial. Can we hear it?
I want to make sure you guys can hear it. I might have to reshare. So let me know if you cannot.
If you can't hear the audio, this is largely what the work looks like. And so this is a volunteer at Team Brownsville. And we typically, there's handing out of a daily meals and books and resources. We can skip to the next slide. The audio is not working. And then here is a quote from Dr. Melba Salazar Lucio. We work very closely with her. I was overcome with emotion because I had made 80 hot dog and chip and juice goodie bags, but when I took out books, everyone dropped their water bottles and flocked to me. Next slide, please. So to sort of wrap up this section of the presentation, as I mentioned, the CIC committee works closely with the REFORMA chapters, especially the ones closest to the border. Libraries are seeking ways to partner with shelters. And as I mentioned earlier, Adi Huertas, myself, and many members of LIBROS are heavily involved in children in crisis. Next slide, please. This is a flyer that we typically distribute with the books that we give out. There's a QR code that is available, but you can also find this information on our website. Thank you. Next slide. So we just want to mention really briefly our work that we did at the emergency intake shelter for youth at the San Diego Convention Center. It seems like it was already a really long time ago, but you know, it was only last year. Really grateful for the cohort that included Adi and Patrick and Leslie. We, within 20 minutes of hearing that unaccompanied youth were going to be housed here in San Diego, we got together to figure out what we could do to support. And the best idea was to create a library so that the children had a kind of autonomous space to seek just comfort and services. And we spent a lot of time listening to the children and having a lot of fun, honestly, finding books for them, listening to their needs. Many of us conducted story times 2 to 3 times a week and participated in educational programs. We worked with other organizations, including the YMCA and the MAC project. And it was really tough work, but we wanted to be there, and we wanted to be there for the kids. I'm gonna wrap this up. Next slide, please. And so this is a brief statistics about the library at the San Diego Convention Center. There were a total of 3,213 unaccompanied minors, representing 11 different countries. We sourced over 3,000 books, and they were donated by publishers, individuals, and other organizations. We had weekly mobile library services and story times. 25 different nonprofit organizations volunteered, and approximately 2,400 youth were reunited with family members across 45 states. The shelter itself was open for a total of 95 days from late March through early July. Next slide, please. I don't know if the audio is going to come through on this one, but this is an example of mariachi playing at the dinner services, and you could hear the children singing along. But I don't know if it's going to come through. Well, that was the gist of it. But it is a chorus of children's voices singing along to a song that, and it was rather heartbreaking to witness. Next slide, please. And now I'd like to hand it over to Leslie, who will present on our forthcoming mentoring program. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's so exciting to be here. I see, well, I don't see you, but I know there's 65 of you here. So thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with us. So my little section here is really a call to action. There were a couple call to actions within Itza's, just to kind of highlight those. You know, if you were really moved by that children in crisis part of the presentation, they are actively taking donations. So we can drop some links in the chat here when we get to the Q&A part. But this is another call to action for you. And, you know, just to let you know, you can join LIBROS no matter where you live. You don't have to live in San Diego or in Imperial counties to join LIBROS. And you can help us with all of these projects, as well as participate in something that we are launching right now, which is a mentoring program. So before I get into the specifics, I would like to see some answers in chat. Who has had a mentor in their life? You can just put, yes, I've had a mentor. You can say who that mentor was. Yes, you can raise your hand. Just want to see who's had a mentor at any stage in their life. Nice. People are naming people. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to be a formal mentor, right? But yeah, I think most of us, if we've been lucky, right, we've had many mentors throughout our lives. What about who has mentored somebody else? If you've mentored anybody else in your life, go ahead and raise your hand, put it in the chat. This might take a little bit more thinking, but I bet you all have mentored somebody. I bet you have, yeah. Yeah, maybe not formally. It could be your own children. It could be, colleagues. It could be, coworkers. There's all sorts of opportunities to mentor others. And there's so many benefits to mentoring. Yeah, just keep putting these in the chat so we can see, yeah, especially part-timers. Right, there you go. So as a mentor, the benefits that you get from mentoring are increased self-confidence, increased self-awareness, leadership, skill development, strong communication skills, the art of delivering feedback. That's a hard one, right? The art of asking questions, being a good listener, exposure to new and different perspectives, growing a personal network, increased chance of promotion, increased job satisfaction, supporting another person, paying it forward, and learning from someone else. So those are all really, really important things in your life and in your career. And the benefits of mentoring for mentees, a lot of them are really the same. They also have increased self-confidence from being mentored, self-awareness, developing those communication skills, also building a personal network, exposure to new and different perspectives, learning how to self-reflect. Oh, that's a tough one, right? That's like a lifelong learning thing. Improve goal setting, learning from others' experiences, learning how to ask good questions, being supported by someone. We can all use that. Being advocated for, increased chance of promotion, and increased job satisfaction. So hopefully I've started to talk you into becoming a mentor or a mentee. So REFORMA does have a mentoring program, so you can check that one out as well. Their mentoring program is a little bit more structured than ours, so it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Ours is not as much of a time commitment, and it's not all that structured. So for our mentors, we are looking for people that have 5 years or more library experience, but they don't have to currently be working in the library. So for example, I do have 5 years or more of library experience. I'm not currently working in libraries, but I can be a mentor, and I will be. Patrick Sullivan, who I see is here, is retired librarian. Retired librarians make perfect mentors. And mentees would be anybody that has 5 years or less of library experience. And again, you don't have to currently be working in libraries. Maybe you just want to be working in libraries. All right, so to be able to join, you do need to be a LIBROS member. And we do ask that you attend the meetings when you can. We have monthly meetings. Right now, they are all virtual. We might be moving sort of hybrid, but we'll make sure to have a virtual option in case you don't live in the San Diego, Imperial County area. And other than attending those meetings, we really only ask for 1 additional hour a month to check in with your mentee or your mentor. So it is really doable, even with all of our busy schedules. And think back to all of those awesome benefits. So registration is open now. I'll put those links in the chat in a second. And we plan to have a LIBROS social in August where the mentors and the mentees can meet in person. But again, if you're not in the area, don't worry, you can still participate. And on the next slide, these are the different areas where you can choose to be mentored or to mentor somebody else. So there's a lot of different options that, range from very practical, to theoretical, to, broad topics like learning about networking, for example, or, project management, those kind of things. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Itza to wrap it up. And then as she's doing that, please put any questions that you had in the Q&A section, and we'll get to those.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm really excited about the mentor-mentee program. We just want to share a few more things as we wrap up our presentation today, because we've actually been doing a lot behind the scenes. Looking back, we were involved with, we technically, LIBROS kind of went quiet just because we wanted to make sure that we could all attend to our families and to our immediate concerns. But in the end, there was a lot of work being done behind the scenes anyway. So I mentioned several of the community libraries that we've started and are currently in progress. We are currently presenting a library to be built at Chicano Park to honor our founding members of LIBROS. And so that is a project that is currently underway. And we have joined forces with the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. This literally happened 2 days ago, so I couldn't update the slides, but we have joined them in their efforts to turn the old Logan Heights Library, which is located on 28th Street in Logan Heights, to turn that into a kind of archive for the Chicano Park Museum and Cultural Center. And there is a survey that is available by the city, and we just want to voice our concerns in concert with what the community wants. And we did attend a meeting last week, and the community is very quite adamant about turning that old library into a public space for their voices. So those are just some of the items. And one last one, which is we are currently, part of this project is to archive the voices of our own founding LIBROS members. So perhaps future LIBROS members would like to participate in a project that would involve interviewing other librarians. Perhaps this could be folded into the mentor-mentee project, but this is what I mean about the kind of laboratory aspect of a lot of LIBROS activities, where we try to kill a couple of birds with one stone so that we don't double up and keep the projects nice and creative. Next slide, please, and our last slide. So these are just some images of either individuals that we've worked with over the year, our emphasis on transborder librarianship, which will ideally culminate into a text that we will develop again through these interviews. There will be a call for texts by participating librarians and organizers. And we really want to thank our partners with the San Diego County Library System, San Diego Public Library System, San Diego City College, their REFORMA Children in Crisis Project. We want to thank current former and future members of Libros, and we really encourage you to join and offer, you can offer your own ideas as far as the next direction that you'd like to see Libros to go in. Like the last several years, we've been focusing on arts librarianship and community outreach, but perhaps you will want to take it in a different direction. And I think that's great. So I want to thank my co-presenter, Leslie McNabb. I want to thank Patrick Sullivan, Adi Huertas, and all of the librarians that are involved in Libros and working so hard to create those community partnerships and to be there for their own respective communities. Thank you very much to the Creando Enlaces Planning Committee. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you very much for participating in during Leslie's really great section. That was really rad. And if you have any questions, please send them on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Itza and Leslie, for your presentation. We do have 2 questions in the Q&A, both regarding the mentorship program. Jacqueline asks if the mentors are all fluent in Spanish or have to be fluent in Spanish. And Cynthia is a Spanish professor and would like to be a mentor and is asking if you have to have library experience.
Well, I would like to encourage anybody to sign up because it is a one-on-one matching. So if someone signs up that is a Spanish speaker, we could match them with another Spanish speaker. And Cynthia, I'm sure you have, lots of relevant experience. So please fill out the survey because it's not matched, so much on your work experience. It's matched based on your skill experience and what you have to offer versus what someone is looking for. So, and you do not have to be from San Diego or Imperial County. So yes, please consider the mentoring program. And again, it's a one-on-one match. Don't feel that you're not qualified. I'm sure you are. You're here. So take a look at the survey.
Thank you, Leslie. I don't see any questions in the Q&A for right now, but I did want to ask you both, with so much work to do and so many opportunities to do that work, what are the kind of questions that you're asking yourself in terms of what you're prioritizing, what you're doing first, who you're working with? How do you make those choices about where to start?
Excellent question.
Stumper, Stephanie. We have a whole presentation about that.
Well, we really emphasize our relationships, and these are ongoing relationships. So it's not. I just feel like we're in the eye of several kind of like activities all of the time, and so sometimes you just say yes because it's an extremely exciting opportunity to support someone else. They have their own projects and ideas that they want to carry forward, and you find that in collaborating, you're creating these really interesting connections and affinities with each other. So the work ends up braiding together in its own way. It starts developing its own logic. And so I don't often find myself in a position of debating, do I say yes or no? It's literally always yes, just because the work is so compatible and collaborative. Definitely there are moments when things can seem or appear difficult just because time is also such a limited resource. But because we work with so many incredible people, we always seem to find the time and the way, and we exercise patience, flexibility, and it ends up, everyone gets fed in some ways. It's really enriching work, and you find that it carries over into your let's say let's call it your straight job or even your family life. I started the bilingual story time program at Solana Beach branch, just out of trying to figure out how to spend time with my stepkids. They live in Ensenada and they were visiting us on the weekends, and I really didn't know what to do and how to spend time with them in a way that it wasn't too imposing. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna go hang out at the library and read some stories. And I think a lot of projects have been generated that way, like people sharing their creativity and their willingness to collaborate with each other. Leslie, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts. First of all, Itza has amazing energy, and I don't think anyone could match what she does. So don't feel like you have to, okay? Secondly, Libros does have a board. And so the decision-making of what Libros is going to do, as a group comes from that board. And if you join Libros, please run for the board. Some of us, like me, are a little tired of being the treasurer. So if anyone else is interested, it's a great leadership opportunity. So really, the decision-making is by the board. So that's one thing. But also, you really want to start with the community need and who we serve, right? So you always start there. So what is the need in the community of Spanish-speaking people, in accessing library services? You start there, and then you go to what Itza described is those collaborations, those partnerships, where the energy is already flowing. So that's what I would say there.
Thank you both. It looks like we've come to the end of our session today. Thank you again for your time, your presentation, your expertise, and your labor. And we look forward to seeing all of you attendees and all of our panelists in other sessions. I hope you all have a great lunch break. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.